What happens if you just don't pay the IRS? That's what slip sum 4891 is wondering. What would happen if I just didn't pay the IRS what I owe them? I owe them about $10,000 for 2023 and $7,000 for 2022, so about $17,000 in total. I do plan on setting up a plan and save to pay those off, but was just curious what would happen if I didn't. I haven't received any serious mail about them, and just for your information, I'm a 1099 employee. So I don't know how that would change anyone's answers. So to answer your question, slip sum, what would happen if you didn't pay the IRS is that they can start taking your stuff. These are pretty fresh tax years. So it's not like the IRS has a lot of time to go through the process it has to go through before it can start actually taking your stuff. It does have to send you some statutorily required letters. I imagine you've already received the CP-14 after you filed your tax return. That's the notice and demand. All about that notice in this video here at the upper right-hand corner of your screen. You may have received the CP-501, CP-503, probably the CP-504. They've been pretty good about sending those out. You said you haven't received any serious mail. The CP-504 is pretty serious. It says notice of intent to levy, but maybe the IRS hasn't gotten to you. But eventually when they send the final notice of intent to levy and giving you your rights to request a CDP, a collection due process hearing, if you do nothing within the 30 days after receiving that notice, right? That's like an LT11 from ACS. Or letter 1058 or maybe 1058A if you're working with a revenue officer. Then the IRS can start taking your stuff. And what does that look like practically? Well, the two main ways that the IRS starts taking your stuff, because you're 1099, you don't make wages per se, so they wouldn't send a wage levy notice to your employer. But what they can do is they can send a levy notice to your customers. Yes, if they find out who you do business with, who your customers are, who pays you money, and how would they know who pays you money? Oh, because they issue you a 1099, right? They look at everyone who's issued you a 1099. That's how they know. Well, if they issued them a 1099, they'll probably still paying them money. They'll issue a notice to those companies and say, hey, don't pay slip sum 4091. Pay the IRS because slip sum owes the IRS money. Apart from the financial implication here of your customers you're doing work for not paying you but paying the IRS, which obviously could have a huge financial detriment to your life, that's also not a good look in front of your customers that you haven't kept up with your IRS payment obligations. Okay. Another thing they can do is send a notice to your bank saying the same thing. It says, hey, slip sum 4091 owes us all this money. After the 21-day freeze period, which I've talked about in other videos, linked to that video here at the top of the screen, after that 21-day freeze period, if slip sum 4091 hasn't dealt with this issue, give us all the money in slip sum's bank account that was in there on the date you got this levy notice. That's what it's called, up to the amount that slip sum 4091 owes, up to $17,000, right? So you might wake up one day and your bank account's drained. Okay, so slip sum, in a nutshell, that is what can happen to you. In terms of criminal aspects, it is technically a crime to not file your tax returns and to not pay your taxes on time. However, it's pretty unlikely that for this amount, unless there's something else going on that you're not disclosing, that the IRS would take criminal action against you. That's not legal advice. That's just a reality of the IRS having very limited CI or criminal investigation personnel to pursue every little taxpayer criminally. Okay. So what I would say to do, if you want to avoid those situations, is get into a resolution with the IRS to deal with this. Now, if you qualify, you could qualify for a hardship-based resolution. Maybe even a hardship-based resolution that would result in you not paying the IRS back this entire $17,000. These are things like offers in compromise, partial payment installment agreement, CNC status. I've talked about all these things in another video right here on my channel. You can check out that video right up here at the upper left-hand corner of your screen. If you'd like a free consultation with Choice Tax Relief, give us a call at 866-TAX. That's 866-8000-829, or fill out the form at choicetaxrelief.com. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.